When I started in the Army in the fall of 1978, I started right before Rosh Hashanah. And that was a mistake on my part, but I wasn't deeply observant in those days. I wanted to find out where there was a Jewish chaplain. This was at Fort Lee, Virginia. Well, they had no Jewish chaplain, but someone said there was a Jewish sergeant major, Arnold Jadovsky, Olav Sholem. His nickname was Jake Jadovsky, highly decorated E9 sergeant major. And they said he was the lay leader on post. And so I went to see him. I was about 3 days into the Army. I was a captain as a direct commission, but I knew less than a typical private about saluting and walking and wearing the uniform and everything else. And Sergeant Major Jadovsky saw me as sort of a lost soul. And even though I outranked him, he took me to his shul for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services and Shabbos services. And he kept kosher, and he brought me over to have dinner with his family and kept appropriate military protocols to avoid anything improper. But here I saw a Jewish family that had been to Vietnam, had been to Korea, Germany, all over the United States. That had a pretty big influence on me, because I had the idea that if you were Jewish, maybe the Army, maybe the military wasn't for you. And here was a sergeant major all the way through the enlisted ranks, highly decorated, combat veteran. So one thing was that Commander DeLynn, my friend Hirsch, he didn't go by Hirsch then, he was Andy in those days. Later, when he became more observant, he started using his Hebrew name. He had a lot of courage and a lot of personality. To this day, he doesn't take no for an answer. If it's an ethical issue, it's a business issue, or it's a religious issue. He's straightforward about it. You know, people have a tendency to hide their true feelings, to think they understand what people expect of them and try to deal with it that way. And he was always direct. When we first met, I had never met him before, and he actually mistook me for somebody else. And I was standing in the shul in Columbia in 1978. I just arrived at Fort Jackson, and I was just standing around because I got there early. And he came in, he thought I was somebody else, and he walks right up to me from the back of the shul. It was a large shul in Columbia. From the back of the shul right up to my face, and he said, "I just walked 5 miles to shul today, and boy, I feel great." And I said to him, "I don't think we've met before." And I introduced myself. He was proud to wear a yarmulke all the time. It took me many years to decide I could do that. He didn't mind what people had to say about that. He wore a yarmulke in uniform because he also wore it as a civilian. Even when it wasn't allowed, he would do it. And just through the force of his personality, his commanders never said a word, even though it violated Navy regulations in the early 80s. He never had a problem with that. And so it taught me a lot about courage and moral courage, learning to do the right thing, to bring me to realize the amount of courage you need in your everyday life in order to succeed, in order to exist.
I'm fascinated by the idea that he wore his yarmulke even when it was against regs, and by sheer force of personality, his chain of command didn't bother him.
Right. So there's a very important rule in the military. If you do a good job and you work hard, you can accomplish anything. Even if there are regulations in the way, commanders, NCOs will try to find a way to help you meet your personal needs, your personal goals.